I am working on making a catch can for the 55 Cummins, and I'm going to be making a catch can right in this area here on the driver's side. This is the template for what the top of it's going to look like, and it's just going to run along the fender pretty much just like that. And yeah, let's get started. And first thing we're going to do is trace this onto my sheet of 1/8" aluminum. Alright, the plasma cutter makes a pretty clean cut, but you still have to file it clean before you weld it. Probably wait on that until we're going to tack everything together, because probably going to get some dirt and grease on it while we're mocking up the rest of the pieces that we need to cut out. Okay, I've kind of been shaping it to fit in here the way I want it to, just giving it like a light curve and a bit of a twist. And this is basically what it's going to sit like in here. And the next step is going to be to start coming up with the 6 sides, and we'll probably start with the outside here. Come down and kind of go lower on this side. That's where our drain will be, which probably have a little valve on it that we can just open and catch with the hose out here in the wheel well, and we'll just work our way around from there. Alright, so to make this piece here, the first thing we're going to do is take a full sheet of paper and figure out exactly where it's got to start clearing the wheel well, because we want this to be our lowest point. It's going to be basically just set the paper in here and kind of trace out where you think it interferes, and then we start cutting it and just continue to do that until we get it where we like it. Okay, so I had to modify my idea of making the low point back here because of the fuse box that I installed on the firewall. So what I'm going to do instead is basically make the low spot right here above the coilover, and that's where all 3 ports will connect. What they'll do is they'll flow into an empty chamber at the bottom of the catch can, and then there will be a plate dividing that chamber from an upper chamber, which is going to be stuffed full of stainless steel wool. And I'll drill a bunch of holes in that top panel that I built or cut out already, and essentially all of the vapor will enter in the bottom chamber. It'll have to pass through all that stainless steel mesh, and hopefully that'll separate the oil out, and it'll vent through the top. So let's go ahead and get this second piece cut out and see if we're on the right track. Well, as usual, I started skipping ahead without recording, but I'll show you how I came up with this third piece, which kind of is going to contour the wheel well here a bit and lead down to our sump area. So basically what I did was I took a piece of the, it's not cardboard, but construction paper, I guess you'd call it. And I took almost a full piece and laid it down on top of the stove mount here to my lowest point. And it was coming up here like this. And I took my little piece that I've already made here and laid it where it's supposed to go, and kind of held it in place like this. And then I just took a Sharpie and traced the line that this point made across this piece of paper, and I started cutting, and that's how I came up with this piece. So I'm going to get this piece cut out of aluminum now, and we'll get it tacked on here, see where we're at. Alright, I got that piece cut out, and after tacking it together a few times because I got the angle completely wrong, this is what it's looking like so far. It fits in here real well. I can almost set it down by itself, and it's almost staying in place. Once we get these other sides made up, it'll be pretty close, and then we can make some mounting brackets, but it's coming together. So what we're going to do next is come up with a plate for this side, and We'll have to snake around the brake lines as well, so we'll probably have to indent it in this area here, kind of come up like that. And then we'll worry about capping the ends. We will have to make a baffle piece to slide in here before we cap it off, so we're gonna want to leave the wider side open for sure, because if we cap that off, we'll never fit in anything to baffle this. So let's grab some more cardboard paper. Okay, so historically I always regret doing this, but I'm gonna go ahead and weld a couple of the corners that I've already got prepped. And the reason why I say I usually regret it is because when I finish weld something before finishing the projects that I'm working on, I usually end up having to cut it back apart. So keep your fingers crossed that I don't have to do that. As you can probably tell, I really enjoy doing aluminum. Not too bad, not too bad. So we're gonna let it cool for a little while, and then got a little bit of contamination on this side, probably from the plasma cut. Didn't file it good enough. But it still looks pretty good overall. So like I said, we're gonna let it cool for a little while. We're gonna cool off for a little while, and then we will get to work on making the next side. All right, it's cooled down. And I've got this piece back in here, and I've decided that I want to create a flat spot in this area down here. I'll show you that in a second, and I'll tell you what my idea is for it. Just grab the camera. So you can see the area I'm talking about is probably going to be right around in here. I just like to create a flat panel for that area to kind of give us some more sump room, because the way that this is going to work is the point where the vents lead into the box has to be a little bit above the bottom, because it has to have an area for waste oil to accumulate. And the way it's currently designed, that's going to be a very small amount of area, and I'd like to try and get as much as I can. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Bottom panel on there, cut out, welded on, and we're really starting to get somewhere with this thing. We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more pieces, and it should be done. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm gonna have enough aluminum to do that, so I'm gonna have to order another piece from Amazon and wait for that. But making some headway on this thing. I'm really happy with it. It's gonna look pretty cool when it's all done. All right, everyone, it's almost 9 o'clock at night. I've been working on this box pretty much all day. I've taken a couple little breaks to cool down, but I run out of material now, so I'm gonna call it a night. But first I'm gonna show you what it looks like, because it's really coming together. Check this out. Okay, so I got pretty much this entire side of it done. This is capped. All the way up until here. So all we have left to do is probably 1, 2, 3 pieces maybe. So we'll make a run to the metal yard in the morning, and hopefully they'll be open. But you can see I'm really taking my time on this thing, and it's really showing. Got a cool little curve wrapping around the intake tube. We've got plenty of room in our sump down below, so hopefully we can finish it tomorrow. I'll see you guys then. All right, well, I've pretty much gotten as far as I can with the, actually that's not true. All right, well, this is about where I'm at. Not much further than last night, but I've fabricated the part that wraps around the brake lines and the master cylinder. I've got my template for the piece I need here. And I've started to make my template for the piece I need here. You can see I'm gonna have to modify it because I came up with a... Okay, so basically I'm gonna have to make a piece for this section and a separate piece for this section. They'll have to be in two pieces because there's a lot of angles going on there, and that would finish the outside of the chamber. So what I'm gonna work on now is coming up with the template for the baffle that's gonna be inside, that's gonna separate the stainless steel wool from the lower chamber, which will be the reservoir for the waste oil and the inlets for the crankcase vents. So as you can see, I didn't finish weld this panel on because I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to be able to insert the baffle properly with it welded on. But we're gonna work on coming up with a design for it right now. And yeah, when we get some more aluminum, we'll be able to get it cut out and made. All right, so my catch can is a pretty weird shape. So coming up with the dimensions for the baffle on the inside is going to be kind of challenging, especially because yeah, it's constantly changing. So first thing we're going to do is measure the straightest section of it that we can, which is going to be this seam right here. We're going to measure that and start with that. So it's probably going to be about a 24-inch long piece, and since we're not 100% sure about the other side, we'll go ahead and cut it to 25 inches, and that way we can cut it at an angle down to 24 if that's what ends up needing to happen. So we got 25. Okay, I've got it pretty close to where I'm gonna want it to be. You can see it follows the seam and goes back in there pretty well. I do have probably about 1/4 of an inch I'm gonna add onto this side when I make the final product out of aluminum. And you can see I'm probably gonna have to alter the angle of that one as well. But that's pretty much what it's gonna look like, and it's just gonna have a bunch of holes drilled in it so that the oil vapors can pass through the baffle and then through the steel wool, and hopefully the steel wool will kind of help separate the oil from the air, and the oil will drop back down into our sump area down here, which will have a drain installed on it somewhere. And yeah, gonna drill holes in the top so that it can vent as well. Still trying to come up with a design for that, but might work on that next since the baffle's done and we don't have any more aluminum. Hey everyone, so it's been a week since I've been working on this project here. I finally got my half or quarter sheet of aluminum that I ordered off of eBay, and I got the pieces cut out that I had made templates for last week. And I'm happy to say that they actually fit really well. And let me show you. This one got cut out and filed down. There's a little bit of a gap down there, but it's not going to be a big deal. This is the one that I'm really happy with the way it came out. It's the interior baffle piece that I'm going to be drilling a million holes in very shortly. But when you put it in here, it's got such a good fit that let's see if I can move this out of the way and show you. But you can see it's just a an amazing fit. I'm really happy with the way it came out, especially considering the way that the box is already put together so far. So we're gonna go ahead and drill all the holes in this panel, and then we'll get it tacked in on a couple of sides. Then we'll get the other piece tacked on, welded on, and then we'll be able to finish it up. I just have to go grab some steel wool. So right now I'm gonna work on cleaning these parts up a little bit, and then we're gonna get to welding. All right, so I'm basically just gonna drill out every cross point, and we're probably gonna be doing it for a while. So here comes the time, well, not the time lapse. I'll just put it on fast forward. The holes shot through there. Took about 10 minutes, but not too bad. Anyways, we'll get it tacked in here. We'll get the end plate tacked on, and then we'll run to the store to get some of that steel wool. All right, so obviously welding the entire seam wasn't really an option. So I got the torch in there as far as I could and just laid down as many tacks as possible. It's pretty solid, it's not gonna go anywhere, especially once we pack this top side full of steel wool. So I'm gonna run to the store right now and grab a bunch of bags of that and get this loaded up. All right, I just got back from the dollar store and totally scored. Look at all these stainless steel Scotch-Brite pads that we're gonna use as media to fill our catch can. Let's get started unpackaging these things and throwing them in there, see if I bought enough of them. I'm gonna go ahead and cap off this side. I didn't need it open like I assumed I would, so I'm just cleaning up all the surfaces where I'm gonna weld with some acetone. Make sure everything is as clean as I can get it, because aluminum does not like to be dirty. And a couple mistakes I made while I was welding this side, this piece of aluminum that I use, it has like some kind of silver paint on it or anodizing, and I didn't clean it off like you can see here on these edges, and that's why I had so much contamination. I couldn't figure it out at first because I thought I had it super clean, and then I realized that it was because I left that finish on there. Well, the outside edges came out pretty decent. The inside corner, I had a few problems, but that's because there was a pretty large gap. Ended up getting it filled in pretty nicely. Not as pretty as the outsides though. So now what I'm gonna do, we're gonna have to make a piece that goes from here to here, and a separate piece that covers this area, and a separate piece for this area. So it's 3 more pieces. Gonna stuff some more steel wool in there and then start making templates. All right, well, as usual, my freehand plasma cuts are not that straight, but that's okay. I didn't go inside the line too much, so we're just gonna smooth it out on the grinder and the sander and then file the edges clean. All right, I don't know how good you could see it, but I had a horrible time filling this gap here. I think I didn't file off the plasma cut enough, and it was just really bad. I had to grind it all down with a die grinder and go over it again with another pass to try and make it look a little prettier, but you could still tell I had a real battle right there. I got the end cap on, and all we got left is this one last piece. So what I'm gonna do now is just fill up the rest of this thing with the rest of our stainless steel wool. All right, I just got back from the Dollar Tree again, and there's a total of 108 stainless steel scrubbies in here. Cost me something like 65 bucks, but whatever. More surface area, the better, right? So this is the last piece right here. And what I'm doing right now is just cleaning the edges up so that I don't have any contaminations from the plasma cutter. And the way I do that is by taking a coarse file and cleaning it up a bit, and then I take a finer file and do the same thing. All right, the reason why I use a finer file to finish it off is because when I use the rag to clean up the edges with the acetone, if I just leave it coarse finished, it's gonna bring a bunch of the rag with it. Gonna catch on all those coarse filings and just leave a bunch of fuzz, and I don't want that, so that's why I hit it with the fine file. Okay, now the final step before we weld it is gonna be to put a bend in this bad boy, and we're gonna go from this corner to this corner. So let's do that right now. Okay, so we're going from this corner to this corner. Got a pretty good bend to it. So we'll do that, 5 counts. See how that turns out. Let's give it a shot. Oh, we bent it a little bit too much. That's cool. That way I could show you what I do when I bend it too much. So just grab the hammer. And smash the ridge. Closer. You can also just throw it in the vise here. I've done that a few times as well. I'll show you how I do that. All right, well, that's it. Finally finished welding every joint on this thing, and super proud of it. It's got so many different shapes in it. I really could never have pictured myself building something like this, even without even a drawing or a plan. You know, it just kind of came together, and can't wait to get it in the car. What I have to do now is install 3 12 AN bungs on it. That are going to be below the baffle line, but just below it. And then we have to put probably an 1/8 inch NPT plug in the bottom where we're going to put a drain, and we'll be done. So we're going to let it cool down a bit. We're going to set it back in the car and see if we can't mock up and figure out where the best places to land those bungs is going to be, because we have very little room. All right, here it is in the car, and this is our first vent, and it looks like we'll be able to run it straight over to a fitting right here. The other two, unfortunately, there's one right back there. I don't know if y'all can see in the darkness, but it's back there. And there's another one on the other side of this filter. So for those ones, I don't know yet. That's gonna be a challenge. I think one might have to land down this way, and we might have to bring snake one around up here somewhere, just because there's literally no room to tap into this thing. So we'll get it figured out though. It's pretty much the last piece to our puzzle here, and then we'll be rolling. Gotta come up with a couple of mounting points as well.